And welcome back, Alex. We're glad to have you again today on Ask the Theologian, and enjoy your Alex Nitzberg show on the podcast. And we have a discussion today about crazy loon senator socialist Bernie Sanders. By the way, let me just say something here before I pass it over to you, that I don't understand why millennials especially are so enthralled with Bernie Sanders, who is a loon socialist. And socialism has failed. It's never had a single success. And yet, here comes the old man Bernie Sanders, who ought to know better. And he doesn't. I fault him a lot more than the millennials, who maybe just haven't read their history book. But that's sorry for the Randy White commentary there, as we're before I get you in here, Alex. But as many people know, a few days ago, Bernie Sanders just went ballistic about Russell Vought, who's nominated to be the deputy director of the Office of Management and Budget, because Vought wrote an article. And I want to share just a couple of things that was about Wheaton College. And Wheaton College, many know, of course, is not really a bastion of conservatism. Even though it at one time was a great evangelical school, it has in many ways gone off the rails as well. But Russell Vought wrote an article that was supporting his school for dismissing, or at least working towards dismissing, a professor who said that Muslims and Christians and Jews all worship the same God. And I just want to point out a couple of things he says, just three quick points Russell Vought said in his article. He says, first, the theological issue at stake is very important, and I couldn't agree with that more. Second, he says, that as others have written, he says, Wheaton College has every right to insist that academic freedom be enjoyed within the broad parameters of their statement of faith. That's it's really a very logical statement. And then third, he says, the manner and the rhetoric of Dr. Hawkins' response to Wheaton simply is not becoming of an employee at a Christian college. So this, as we know, is the foundation of Bernie Sanders' ballistic statements towards Vought. Now, Alex, welcome to the program. Tell us what you know, and let's add to this.
Thank you for having me back on, Dr. White. So, yeah, you pretty much laid out what's going on here. So what I wanted to add is it appears that it was a Facebook post made by this professor at Wheaton, because according to the Chicago Tribune, this article in the Chicago Tribune, they quoted from her Facebook post, and she said, I stand in religious solidarity with Muslims because they, like me, a Christian, are people of the book. And the Chicago Tribune says she posted on Facebook, and then it continues and it says, and as Pope Francis stated last week, we worship the same God. So it appears when she said the thing about Muslims and Christians worshiping the same God, she was even making a reference to Pope Francis. And so, yeah, you mentioned it already, but Vought, in his article, he was basically standing up for the school had moved toward, I guess, the process of possibly terminating her. I believe she ended up actually, in the end, I think she ended up leaving the school before getting terminated or anything like that. But, I'm not going to get into all that. But so, this is what Vought said in the article, and this is the thing that Bernie Sanders was really fixated on, and it was this. He said, quote, Muslims do not simply have a deficient theology, they do not know God because they have rejected Jesus Christ, his son, and they stand condemned. And Senator Sanders really did not like that.
Okay, now that first of all, that sounds like a basic evangelical Christian position that Sanders, surely he's been around some other people who held that position, and the animosity is amazing. Let's I tell you what, let's stop here and see Bernie Sanders' response to that quote.
Their letter states, and I quote, we write to express our deep concerns about the nomination of Russell Vought to the position of Deputy Director of the White House Office of Management and Budget. Mr. Vought has denigrated American Muslims and the Muslim faith. His writings demonstrate a clear hostility to religious pluralism and freedom that disqualify him for any appointment, including that of Deputy Director of the OMB. So, for the record. In the piece that I referred to that you wrote for a publication called Resurgent, you wrote, Muslims do not simply have a deficient theology. They do not know God because they have rejected Jesus Christ, his son, and they stand condemned. End of quote. Do you believe that that statement is Islamophobic?
Absolutely not, Senator. I'm a Christian, and I believe in a Christian set of principles based on my faith. That post, as I stated in the questionnaire to this committee, was to defend my alma mater, Wheaton College, a Christian school that has a statement of faith that includes the centrality of Jesus Christ for salvation. And
again, I apologize. I do, forgive me. We just don't have a lot of time. Do you believe that people in the Muslim religion stand condemned? Is that your view?
Again, Senator, I'm a Christian, and I wrote that piece.
Well, what does that say?
With the statement of faith of Wheaton.
I understand that. I don't know how many Muslims there are in America. I really don't know. Probably a couple of million. Are you suggesting that all of those people stand condemned? What about Jews? They stand condemned too?
Senator, I'm a Christian.
I understand you are a Christian, but this country is made up of people who are not just. I understand that Christianity is the majority religion, but there are other people who have different religions in this country and around the world. In your judgment, do you think that people who are not Christians are going to be condemned?
Thank you for probing on that question. As a Christian, I believe that all individuals are made in the image of God and are worthy of dignity and respect regardless of their religious beliefs. I believe that as a Christian, that's how I should treat all individuals.
And do you think your statement that you put into that publication, they do not know God because they've rejected Jesus Christ the Son and they stand condemned, do you think that's respectful of other religions?
Senator, I wrote a post based on being a Christian and attending a Christian school that has a statement of faith that speaks clearly with regard to the centrality of Jesus Christ in salvation.
I would simply say, Mr. Chairman, that this nominee is really not someone who is what this country is supposed to be about. I will vote no.
Well, there he is, Alex. What do you think?
Well, one of the obvious things I'm sure everyone noticed is that Bernie Sanders appears to be very hostile in his questioning. He seems angry and just quite perturbed. He seems angry while he's asking the questions. In fact, at one point, he seems to get even angrier. And his questioning, if you think about it, what he seems to be implying here, not only would no Christian ever be allowed to work in government, if based on what Sanders seems to be saying here, really any person of any religion that has an exclusionary view on salvation, soteriology, they wouldn't be able to serve in government because they're not, I guess, it seems like he wants universalism. He doesn't like this idea. There's an exclusive way. The only way that someone can not be condemned, that someone can be saved, is by trusting in Christ. So that would apply to Christians. They wouldn't be able to serve in government, but also seems that any religion with an exclusionary view of salvation would not be allowed to serve in government.
I might interrupt you right there before you go on. Excuse me, Alex. But of course, Bernie Sanders being a socialist, and communism is the political means of instituting socialism, has been in the past. And communism and really socialism demands an atheism that goes at it. And so I think this is being very consistent with socialism, which again, many even evangelical Christians today, especially the young, are adopting socialism, thinking it is it's biblical in some manner. And they just forget that socialism is just married to atheism. And Bernie Sanders is bringing this out. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is interesting that the guy who I believe he refers to himself as a democratic socialist, and he is the one he's seeming to be openly hostile to Christianity. And so, but the other thing that's interesting, he asked the guy, do you think that that's Islamophobic, which is kind of a stupid question. Obviously, he doesn't think he's being a jerk or he wouldn't have written it. But it's interesting, this term Islamophobic, because the Bible obviously is against Islam because it's contrary to what the Bible teaches and it's a false religion. But phobic has this, implied fear. So no, the Bible and God are not afraid of Muslims, and Christians that believe in what God teaches in the Bible are not afraid of Muslims. It says in the Bible that God will have all men saved and come to the knowledge of the truth. But the only way that that's going to happen is if people are presented with the truth. And the truth is that the Bible teaches an exclusionary way of salvation through, faith in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. So, and also this is interesting on this point. There's an NPR article about this incident, And it says, quote, NPR asked Sanders' office if the senator would have challenged a devout Muslim who believed non-Muslims are condemned to hell in the same way he challenged Vaught. Sanders' spokesman said yes. And so I wrote in my notes, yeah, right. Who believes that? I mean, I don't think that if this was, I would say not really reversed, but if there was a Muslim sitting in Vaught's seat and Sanders had treated him the way he treated Vaught, Sanders would be lambasted by the left for Islamophobia. And I don't believe that he would even consider doing that, because Islamophobia, it seems to be another weapon of political correctness that's been used to cow people out of possibly considering any criticism of Islam. And so I'm pretty sure that if that guy was a Muslim, that the leftist Bernie Sanders would not have been treating him and questioning him in the way. Now, that's what they said. I don't know what he would do for real. I really don't think that would happen.
I totally agree with you. I think Sanders is a political opportunist, and socialism is his opportunity of today. And I would venture to say that you couldn't find an anti-Islamic statement from Bernie Sanders if you scoured the entire World Wide Web. That he knows political correctness, and it is not politically correct to challenge a Muslim on anything, especially for the left that is there. A very interesting topic. It seems like Sanders has instituted a religious test for those who hold to a Christian doctrine, and the exclusivity of Christianity is just very well-founded and well-known. And that's not only true of Christianity, it's really true of any of the world religions that have any kind of foundations at all to them, that Islam is exclusive, and Judaism, Orthodox Judaism anyway, is exclusive. Christianity is exclusive. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. If they have a religion, they think it's right. And I hope they do. I certainly do. And I believe Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No one sees the Father except by me, Jesus says. Alex, thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you, Dr. White.
And we look forward to having you again next week. And until then, God bless you. Everyone, check out the Alex Nitzberg Show. You can get the podcast, some great interviews there, and great topics.